I am moving towards something that awaits me to complete itself, and perhaps, only perhaps, please me. My name is LeRoy Clarke. I was born in Gonzales, East Port of Spain. I taught for about 10 years, and following that, I decided to devote my life to two of my gifts, my painting and my writing.
Yes?
All my life I've had interest in many things, creative things. So from very early, my chiefest hobbies were writing, drawing. By the time I was in my early 20s, the bug had begun to bite, so to speak. I started to believe that I was writing good enough to become a writer, and painting and so on sufficiently to become a serious artist.
Repeat that. Aladoye.
Sing. Aladoye.
Aladoye. Ayaba shago wariloye.
Aladoye.
Beat the drums. Aladoye. Aladoye. Oh.
Yes?
Aladoye. Ayaba shago wariloye. Now my spirit drifting, floating like a cloud.
Yes?
Hearing voices calling, I look down. I see a crowd drumming and they chanting in a different tongue. Music so enchanting, I had to go down.
Sing.
Watching what they're doing.
Yes.
Trying to understand. It was so amazing since I came from another land. The high priest approached me whole and shake me hand. Welcome home, me picnic. Welcome back to Shango land. Yeah. Aladoye, he said.
Hey, we celebrating the life of Obia man.
Aladoye,
Yes.
Ayaba, Shango wariloye.
Yes?
Aladoye, 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 oh. Aladoye, Ayaba, Shango wariloye.
Welcome to episode 70 of the Corey Shepherd podcast. Welcome back to everybody who's been listening. Welcome to all the new listeners. Listen, a great one we celebrate him. We got to celebrate him.
Me gods, me Orisha, Oshun and Ogun.
Yes?
Me calabash, me obi, me candle and me oil. That is what they hand me and say, son, go back now and toil. You may laugh and shun me and treat me with scorn. I know who will help me since I was reborn.
Yes?
So when you hear me chanting and knocking the drum, all who stay there mocking, wait till me power come. Aladoye. Aladoye, oh. Aladoye, Ayaba, Shango wariloye.
My major obstacle is the fact that I have declared. Now, if I had kept quiet and not attached to my work my own authenticating as an African man, things would have been easy up to today. I mean, this very day, you know, people attack me on that basis. You know, if I did not do that, I think people would be buying up my work. I would be more popular, and so on. To the point where I have a way of saying, to defend myself in this milieu, I say that I'm popular because I'm unpopular. Because everybody knows LeRoy Clarke and they know his work and all of that. mainly because people try their best to avoid it. So my God is very good to me. My wishes surround me. And here you are, trying to find out a little more about my life.
I'll bring it back. Hey, we're here to celebrate the life of our Obia man. I'll say a great one, LeRoy Clarke, passing of the man last week. And it's a celebration of life, you know, because the man who you hear with that music behind him is a fella by the name of Lord Nelson, you know him? Celebrating 90 years last week. So it's a celebration of life all around. Celebration of life all around. Life for greatness. And listen, I had my own experiences with LeRoy Clarke. I will talk about them too because he's not by any stretch of the imagination an ordinary man. As a king to me, a lot of people call him chief. But the things that he was able to accomplish, and here's some of his own words, Here's some of his own words on this Emancipation Week, talking about how business success for him would be a different story if he didn't own and show his Africanness so much. And it's true talk. And one thing about him, before I even go into the history and who he was and the things that he accomplished and all that, he was an unapologetic man. Let me start by saying that, because he had his opinions, he had ways that people up to now, you know, who's saying, I see a lot of things on Facebook going wrong, saying, I welcome people to the episode and thing already. Yeah, I think I do all that, right? But a lot of things went wrong on Facebook with people saying, well, he had the ways and he this and that and he had his opinions that we didn't like. One thing about him is that I never know him to be somebody who cared too much about what other people's opinion about him was. He was absolutely sure of himself, whether it's through his work, many different types of work too, or just when he presents himself as a king and as a chief anywhere he go. Anywhere you see him, he was kingly. And it's something that we can't forget. And I say the same thing last week when we were talking about Brother Resistance, where no matter where you see Brother Resistance, his garb and how he stood and he walked tall and proud is the same thing I could say about LeRoy Clarke. But that man had a pair of eyes beyond everything else, right? The man had a pair of eyes that used to pierce your soul. So when you look at it, he had a way. And one thing I find was nice about what people say about him on social media as they're talking about them eyes too, is everybody was able to say when they get buff or cuss from LeRoy Clarke, which is, that give you legendary status already in my books. If LeRoy Clarke ever cuss you or you get buff, I find he is a legend to me too. But I remember him as one of my favorite things about him, you know, because that man used to take every opportunity he get to cuss. Like I remember him being on Umbala, like he was the partner. Them days Umbala had a show on 95.5. Whole morning Umbala used to be on, from must be, a matter of fact, from 9-10 in the morning after Dale and Tony all the way to 1-2 in the afternoon. Umbala used to have a show. And every now and again he would bring LeRoy Clarke on. And boy, listen, you're sure to hear 2-3 cuss. They had to go to advertisement regular. And I remember one time in Fatima too, he was invited to speak at, it could be graduation. We were all in dress uniform and we went to St. Teresa's church. So I can't remember what the occasion was. But what I could tell you is the church was, he was not above cussing in the church. You know what I mean? I like a little oxymoron in life. You know, I like somebody who, I like a little Christian who's take a little drink. Well, you know my story. A little Muslim is not pork. You know what I mean? I like these things. So when a man come in the church and he could find a way to squeeze into cuss inside of there, he's done my hero already. But I mean, beyond all the joke and the kicks, I think his history spoke for itself, right? As a painter, we talk about as a painter first, which is what I would have known him for. And again, it's one of the things that I struggle with a lot, because I went through all my years in Newtown Boys, going to primary school. I went through several years in Fatima. I didn't really learn nothing, but what I could tell you is that I never remember anybody teaching me as part of the curriculum about somebody like LeRoy Clarke. It's just one of the things we do as a society, you know. And I say, maybe this is my portion to come and do this podcast, so at least once a week we could get down in the history and learn something about the people who sacrifice so much for us and mean so much to us long before they had to go anywhere. Why they had to go somewhere for us to celebrate them? And a part of it is I didn't know him growing up. I didn't understand who he was. I wasn't taught. I didn't know the names of any of his paintings, what he stood for. I don't know the style of painting that he's do. It's the strangest thing. This just the way we live as a society. I and keep in mind that I usually say these things. I went to school in the 80s. So I say these things back then, right? As just as a reflection of what I know. But I hope that by now, people like LeRoy Clarke would have been taught in schools, and it's not some kind of blurb that people do when they pass away. Because I remember my son being in what you would have been. I told a little about Mr. Javille already. And I remember when Singing Sandra passed away. I hear Mr. Javille here during the Zoom class. Well, I thought somebody was really crying, but like they was crying in the ghetto. I hear Mr. Javille singing a Singing Sandra song for them and explaining to them who she was and her presence and why so much artists used to call her mother. I find that was a nice thing to do, but we can't wait for the nice thing to be done. It had to be part of the curriculum, examinable. And I am sure that anybody who is an art student in this country, I hope. Let me just say sure. If you're an art student in this country, you probably knew about LeRoy Clarke and his work and probably studied his work for projects and all that and understand a little more about him. But what we teach in social studies in school for if he is not a part of the social fabric of our country? What we doing it for? Why we have social studies as a what we're supposed to do? Social studies is just if a old lady come on a bus, you get up and you give her a seat. Is there a study of culture? Is that part of the social studies? Whatever it is and whatever format it come in, more needs to be done to get these guys on the curriculum in the schools examinable. Let us know who these people are long before they go anywhere. Living legends. And we're here to celebrate life. So just looking back at some of his history as LeRoy Clarke, the man, there's a painting by the name of Weavers of the Dust. And they said that in 1984, he sold it to TTT. And it was, so let me read it. In the year 1984, Mr. Clarke made national headlines for sale of his work to the then only local TV station, TTT. The work was entitled Queen of the Band and cost the station $1 million. At that time, it was the most expensive Trinidadian painting ever sold. In 2007, Mr. Clarke again made headlines for the sale of his work, Weavers of the Dust, to the government of Trinidad and Tobago for $1.2 million. So it's a legendary status. I remember, and I don't know how much people remember this. I was trying to find the name of the painting too and couldn't find it. But there was one time he sold a painting to Unitrust Corporation as well. And $1 million is the figure I remember. Now, if you go to Unitrust, at the time, I haven't been there in a long time, right? Unitrust downtown Port of Spain on the promenade. When you walk in there, there's a painting that is in the, what is it called, atrium, foyer? What is it called? The big hall where you go and line up, right? There's a painting hanging over that hall that, if I remember right, that was also sold to the Unitrust Corporation for $1 million. And I mean, the money is the least of it. If it's some kind of measure, the value of his paintings, that's great. But I remember him coming up on a top 100 list from BBC of the greatest artists in the world. Again, that I don't remember that being a big thing or anything like that. It was just one of them things. So when you hear him talking about that and his gripes, and I want you to pay attention. And if you're listening to this podcast, pay attention to something. Listen carefully to the way all our legends talk about the way they're treated in our society. You always hear them with a little bit of a gripe, with a little bit of a thing saying, you know what I mean? They do so much for the country, this and that. Listen to it as whether they're still alive or they pass and gone, you usually hear that common thread through everything that they say. They feel underappreciated. You know what I mean? But he was basically talking about that as being, you know, he owned his Africanness and his paintings. He said he'd sell much more if he was thing. And somebody like BBC, to pick him up and put him on a top 100 list, it speaks volumes of the value of his work. I'm talking outside of the money and all that. So I'll tell you a little bit about my experience with him, right? Outside of course, him cussing in church and thing, which was legendary to me. He had Father Gregory, little fumbly Father Gregory, you know, if to come or go when LeRoy Clarke starts a cuss. But I remember, now, his daughter had to say salute to Desi Clarke, is a friend of the family, a friend of ours, and you know what I mean, in her time of grief we wish her the best, and all of us here with her as not just as a family, she's part of our family, but as part of as a nation. You get me? And through her, now that's Stacy friend, eh? So you have to understand that when I meet her Desi and them, I still make sure I know trying to I kind of in, but I know if I, you know when you in with a woman, but you ain't sure if you're in with the friends. You know, if the friends and them accept you, there's a stage art really, yeah? And through that, we end up going up by him. Now, I a little worried because Stacy and them know him from a little child growing up, and they his Uncle Leroy and all them happy wrong him and thing. But I know this is a man's cuss people. And it's early days for me too, so I worried. I said, but I wonder if this man go see straight through me and know I only here for, you know what I mean? I only come here for, I doing short-term camping in this camp. So I say, all right, let me go to the place. This is where his home is where you reside. And here, from the time you reach there, there's a presence or what I call it, an energy when you go into that man's space. Because the first thing happen is I notice a glass of water by the step. This might have some kind of significance that I don't know nothing about. But in them days, I'm an unenlightened self. The first thing I say, well, all right, it will be me. She come to tie my foot. And maybe it work out because we married now, right? So maybe my foot get tied. But I noticed the glass. I'm talking about just a regular glass with water by the step. And then they explained to me that it have 39 steps. And the 39 have some symbolism in... I want to say Orisha thing, but I don't want to say the wrong thing. So it had some symbolism somewhere. So I walked up the 39 steps and thing, and I went into the space, and it was much like an art gallery. And one of the things that, if you're like me and you don't know much about paintings at all or art, you're still going to be overwhelmed and impressed by the intricacy of the work and the size, the sheer size. They have one hanging up just over as you're walking to go up these steps. And listen, the size of that thing. You're wondering how one man could paint that. That was my reaction to it. I keep looking at these paintings, and I mean, as a layman, I don't know what I'm looking at, but what I can tell you is I'm trying to figure out how one man paint this. I keep thinking, but where he start? What point he start at in this painting is so hard to figure out. And I mean, as you go more into the space, you see much more artwork all over the place, all over the wall. The house itself is a work of art. And then, of course, at some point, you see either he appear, the chief, the king. And at that point, I believe the first time I went, there was some kind of a little lime. I think it was there's this birthday party, 24th birthday party. That mean I was real now inside because they see when they say, anyway, let me not put my business out there. But it was 24. And again, the number 24 was a significant time in terms of rights of moving from the adulthood or whatever it was. And you know what I mean? I try to pay attention and look smart among people who smart. And when he came in, you're feeling his presence. There's not too much a chitter chatter. The place gets silent, you know what I mean? And he come out and he spoke about his daughter and the love he had for her and the significance of the age 24. And I mean, I just at that point, I really just hoping nobody don't ask me nothing. I don't want to say no words because I just try not to get cussed at this point in time, to be honest. And it was just one of them moments. But I'll tell you a funny story about that. I had to tell you this, right? So keep in mind that these is 24-year-old women, young girls, you know what I mean, now coming into the self. So all her friends and everybody there, so it's a young vibe. But he, again, being the king he is, he have some of his, what is called that, subjects? He have some of his people around him, right? So the older people who are around him and also there to celebrate. I didn't get the impression that they were family or anything. They're just there to celebrate. I'll tell you something funny. All the uncomfortable because now they start to go around the room for everybody to say something about a Desi. And at this point, me don't know a Desi. I don't know her, really. I only know through Stacy. But when it started to reach me, I just go and say, well, I know her through Stacy, and Stacy great, so she great, and everybody great, and don't cuss me. You know what I mean? That's my MO. But it never reached me. It reached a man who say he have a poem to say for Desi. So the place get quiet now. Everybody want to hear what it. Now, I trying to play like a artsy too. I try to, because I done tell myself, all right, whenever he done with the poem, I go snap. I want to clap or thing. I will snap and thing and make myself sound like if I know about thing. A spoken word, you know what I mean? Say my own. But listen, this man poem, he pull out a book, yeah? This man have a book full of things. So I said, well, but the hell I go do when it reach my turn? No, I need Mama Quattro. I could say I sing a song, nothing happening. When that man opened the book, that man said, I would like to dedicate this to a Desi as a, woman, this, that. He talk about it, in the faith and all that. And here the opening line in that man poem. I'm coming and I'm not pulling out. Well, boy, my my eye open big and LeRoy eye open big too. I say, but what kind of fit is this? If I know it's that kind of fit, you know what I mean? I don't get myself ready, you know what I mean? I drink that glass of water and step. But again, it was just one of them moments, and it was the presence, and he was that type of a encapsulating figure, more than just the art, and who he had a presence and an energy. And I mean, I'm not doing any justice trying to explain this over a podcast. It's something that I just had to experience. But one of my favorite things was when we went back to the house, must be some other time. Now I'm more comfortable with everybody there. And there was not, it wasn't the subjects, you know, his people and his followers. I don't know what's the right word to use. It's hard for me to describe it. There's some people who just are around him. But none of them were there. It was just me, Stacy, Desi, and him. That was it for the house. Nobody was there. No housekeepers. No show then. No nothing. And that was special for me because of who LeRoy Clarke is and what he meant to me in my life. Just as a Trinidadian, just as an observer on the outside looking in. Being amazed at first that somebody could sell a painting for $1 million, and then being amazed that the presence he had and the voice he had and the energy. And just as an icon, you know how I feel about all icons. And when it was just 4 of us there, it was different. It was like you get to meet the person behind the chief or the person behind the king or inside. He didn't bother, he didn't care. And that's what I meant when I say, that's what I mean when I say he's who he is. He's raw, unapologetic. He's just who he is. And that man pay 2 block ice and he wine. While I playing fancy about wine and thing, a man who selling painting $1 million a painting, who would have met dignitaries from all over the world, that man pay 2 block ice. And he was just himself, just breathing. He's showing me how he's doing little exercise. He says, try and keep fit, you know, and he do some push-ups against the window. He ain't going all the way down. He said, I can't go all the way down again, but he do some push-ups against the window. And there's nothing that could replace memories like those for me. And then he took me through the house, walked me through upstairs, carried me everywhere, and talked me through now his career in music, or what he used to do in music. He had a band growing up behind the bridge. They grew up in Gonzales, as he said, right? And he had his band he used to play with. And then he showed me his poetry and love letters he wrote and stuff. And it was just, and when I say band, I'm talking about album and thing, you know, not the picture, just pictures of band, and the man have his recordings and all that. And here I was thinking his paintings alone, I just did not know. And that's what I mean when I say, like, how we could grow up and call ourselves Trinidadians when our children don't know these things. We don't know ourselves. We lost, you know what I mean? But that was very, very special to me, and going around the house, and he was telling me about Shadow, and I sing to Shadow Calypso for him, you know, as some lyrics. So I find myself, I don't know poem, I ain't coming, I ain't pulling out, but I know Shadow, you know what I mean? And we were able to share a moment there, but nothing more important for me than the fact that my son was there. And he could have been 2 years old, real toddler. As a matter of fact, the photo from this episode is the picture of him and Zachary. And that was meaningful. I mean, of course, I don't know if Zachary will ever remember him. We have the pictures and all that of him in the house. And it was just something to see. With a little child and an elder like that. Like, you know, the Japanese, we will get to the Olympics in Tokyo, right? But the Japanese do this thing where they put the retirement home and the, what is called that? Kindergarten or pre-care, daycare, whatever it is. They put those 2 things together and they see it as something that allows the wealth of knowledge from one generation to pass down to the next generation. And also the babies or the youths or the toddlers give a certain amount of life to the elderly people now. So it's an exchange of energy happening between the wise and elderly and the energy of youth. And that's what I saw when Zachary was with him those days. And those things are special. I will never forget those moments. Zachary walked around bareback in the house. And don't care who he is. You could be king, you could be chief, you could be what. You see, when a little child around you, them don't have the reverence and thing. And they don't have no pretense that other people might have around you. Because, listen, when you're a high value or high power individual, adults going to knock a certain way around you. People want to show you that they are this, they are that, they are, you know, they want to drink their wine with ice. You know, we have a lot of putting on when we are around people who might be powerful and or high value, like the best way I could put it. But children don't have that. Exactly, was just his normal self, bareback, having a good time, walking around, eating paint, and he pick up this one, he liked that, and it was just nice to see, and you could see the energy, as again, as I say, his eyes was something else, Leroy, that is, intense, but you could see how much his eyes softened when he was around my little son. And again, there's nothing I could do to replace memories like those. Those are special to me. So again, salute to LeRoy Clarke, and I leave in with the repeating the same idea again, that we had to do better with preserving our legacy, as he used to talk about legacy a lot. We plain. Is it that our little children, when they grow up, they will just never hear about a LeRoy Clarke, like they don't know who he is? Because y'all remember when I did the episode and was talking about Hazel Scott? Like, we just don't know who she is. It's like your legacy passed and gone. When you die off or your family die off, there's nobody to carry it on. Is that it? That's how we're gonna live as a society? So for the few of us who enter culture and try to pass down the memories and pass down the stories, and maybe that's why I'm here, maybe that's my calling, to tell these stories, make sure that these things are out there. More had to be done to make it a part of the school system at teenage years, at what is called that when you're not teenage, primary school and secondary school, to make sure that these things continue to belong to us. And I mean, at some point I'm going to get into Pan, right? Pan is a contentious thing, you know. Pan is trouble. And there's plenty research to do in Pan. So I could tell you that, like, finding information about our icons and legends is not easy when you're just Googling it home. So I'm going to make some more friends in Nallis and make some more friends in the Carnival Institute. So salute my boy Kern Christopher, who always make himself available. Up to today I talked to him. And at least from those two institutions, I'm hoping to get a little more depth of information when we're going through our legends and our heroes, just to make sure that we're treating them with the respect that they deserve. So again, salute to LeRoy Clarke. And you know what? You don't find it like divine that both LeRoy Clarke and Brother Resistance would have passed away so close together in time in the lead up to independence? Just a thought. Yeah, just a thought, right? So anyway, I want to again say happy birthday to Lord Nelson. So rather than we wait until people go, let me celebrate people who are 90 years old last week. And just like I was talking before about most of our legends, if you talk to them, like David Rudder comes to mind. When you talk to him or you hear him talk about his country as if people forsake him, they abandon him. He never get the flowers that he deserve. He never, you hear a lot of our legends talk. But I hear the clip from LeRoy talking in the beginning of the episode. A lot of our legends feel that way, and it's not by chance. And when I look at Lord Nelson, there was never a time when I didn't think he was an icon and a legend. Let me put it that way, right? So I remember seeing him in watercolors or colors up in Coconuts Car Park back in the day. This had to be, let me get a year. This had to be early in the thousands, maybe 2001, 2, them kind of time. And he was with Marshall at the peak them times. And Lord Nelson come out. If you know him, you know he in a jumpsuit, right? A neon jumpsuit, or onesie basically. and a hat, right? And that man fling off that and started to roll belly and mash up the fet completely. But and the reception he gets, you would see that all of us look at him as a hero and an icon and a legend. But there's a song that he sang away to listen to it. Listen to the pain in this man's voice when he's talking about that. You talk about gripe? Yes? Listen to the voice in it, right?
I don't mind when they try to treat me unkind and take away what is mine. These are things I could put behind.
Yes?
But I demand respect from me countryman, who at least they should understand. In a way, I'm an alien, partisan, man.
Yes?
Who believe
Me own people call me foreigner.
their soul.
Yes.
Without a doubt, anything that you talking about, in my country from north or south, I could walk straight and point it out. So shut your mouth, man. Understand?
You should never call me foreigner, foreigner. Yeah.
And tram car running up and down.
What?
Round the savannah, round and round. I was there when the preacher they call Nosegay begged them crucify him up there. His I will run to drag him away. So when you say, man, in my land, immigration stamps me foreigner.
Immigration, the man saying. Yes.
Who has got no but a man born in Tobago?
Lad.
Who see Big Jackson Bonito?
Yes.
Does just stay so and jump ashore. And who again will know Sukuya and Dwen? And La Jabless walking like men. What? Telling you go, come let we go. Mama yo, so I come.
Yes.
So I go. But don't ever call me foreigner.
Can't stop it, you know. Too sweet. The instrumental bad like the lyrics. Yes. Play. Yes.
Where I go, but don't ever call me foreigner.
Hey, listen. So again, you hear the pain in the voice. The man saying, basically, if you ain't listen to the song and you hear nothing, the man saying, I ain't taking none of the lyrics. He basically saying, my own people in my own country, born and grown in Tobago, but they call me foreigner. And the reason was because Nelson was one of them who would have spent a lot of time abroad. And if you listen to the style of his music, it's slightly different from what you hear in most calypsos. As a basic jam in calypso, he had a lot of funk in the calypso and a lot of reggae too. So as I say here, a biography written by Chris Nixon. Like many calypsonians from Tobago, Lord Nelson, born Robert Nelson, had to seek his fame and fortune in America. And he found it, although not in the US, but back home where he remains one of the most acknowledged stars of soca. The mix of soul and calypso that has been the island, well, I guess soca is a mix of soul and calypso, that has been the island's musical mainstay since the mid-70s. Born and raised in Tobago, Nelson left his homeland after graduating high school, hoping for a better life in Brooklyn. However, he'd hardly had a chance to unpack before he was drafted and sent off with the US forces to Korea, which is where he first showed his talents as a singer and comedian performing in army shows. Later, back on American shows, he began singing in West Indian steel bands in Brooklyn, mostly covering calypso hits in his unique fashion, which went over strongly with the Caribbean community. Still, he never considered writing his own material till he became friendly with another Calypsonian by the name of Mighty Duke. Remember that? We go get it. Have a Duke episode coming, right? That is guaranteed, right? The only man to win 4 Calypso Monarchs straight, that is Duke, right? That coming. Mighty Duke, who mentored him. Nelson's own style took from Calypso, but also the American music heard every day, adding more than an ounce of funk to the proceedings of songs like Lala, King Liar, which became Caribbean hits. While not the first to make soca music, he found a great deal of popularity to the extent that in 1989 he won the title of Uncrowned King in a competition for off-island artists at Trinidad's annual carnival. Again, win a crown for off-island artists. So in other words, when you hear him sing a song like Foreigner, you understand where it's coming from, because he had to win a song. He can't win a normal monarch. For what? Anyway, in 1990 he signed with yeah, so that's that, right? There's plenty more. Matter of fact, you know what I had to do? I had to find a way to create little links that I could post with this episode for people who could actually read and want to read more. I could post some links. I'll figure that out, right? Eventually, at some point, I'll figure out how to post a link so you could go and do your own research and follow it. But again, the song Foreigner, the bongs of that song, easily one of my favorite Lord Nelson songs. I will get to my favorite one, right? You know, I'm going to get to the greatest calypso ever written category, because Nelson, he's just that dude with hits. But before we go on to Nelson, we had to get to some news and some current happenings in the country, right? Now, I'm going to talk about this. I gave myself 5 minutes to get in and out of this vaccine thing, because to be honest with you, right now, you know how Facebook, you could block people? I want them to put in a thing where you could block topics. I don't want to see the word vaccine in life again. I don't want to see nobody who is post about vaccine. And I don't care if you're for vaccine or you're against. I'm fed up. I can't take no more vaccine talk. Which 2 vaccine are to mix? And Rowley said, don't bring the vaccine. If you take the vaccine, don't come around me at Parliament weeks. And I'm tired. Everybody have an opinion. Everybody's an expert. It tiring. Maybe I should just delete Facebook and come out. It's not so bad on Instagram, you know. But on Facebook now, when you scroll through, all you could see is vaccine. Same thing with the news and everything. I am exhausted. So this week, I mean, with the borders being open, it already happening where people getting their PCR test. So if you come in and you're vaccinated and you have a negative test, you're going home, right? Versus if you're not vaccinated and you have a negative test, you have to do your quarantine at your own expense. So those things are already happening. But what I'm seeing now is the businesses responding. And we saw that last week. We saw people call, well, clearly nobody bothered to boycott KFC and Mario's, right? That was short-lived. But they came out and said what they said, and they say, listen, if you ain't vaccinated, you ain't getting rostered. I had to assume that they follow through with that, because I ain't hearing nothing else about that since then. So we assume that going on. And then you start hearing more of it, because my guy Peter George is as Trent Restaurants, I guess the leader of restaurants in the country, because he seems to have the biggest voice of all the restaurants. And I mean, they have a big chain of restaurants too, right? So you can understand why. But he came out and said, listen, I am not mandating that anybody get vaccinated. But if you're not vaccinated, you have to bring a PCR test every 2 weeks. And I think they say the cheapest PCR test is what, $1,200-$1,500 or something like that. So obviously, he's telling you have to get vaccinated without saying. I find he's a kind of baby genius. I'm being honest, right? That was a kind of genius move. If you can't, I want to see who going and tell him now that is IR issues and it's about how they think with his staff and you can't think with people in the contract. Is there's nothing. I don't know what you could say about that. The man basically say, here, what's going on? No, if you don't want to get vaccinated, it's a personal choice. We understand. If you don't want to do that, that's cool. But work with a PCR test every 2 weeks now. So in a month, it costing you $6,000 to get tested. You might as well, if 2 tests here, $3,000 to get tested in a month. That might be a significant portion of the salaries of many people who work in his restaurant. So assuming it's 1 or 2 things. That means basically is either you get the vaccine, both doses, and you're 2 weeks after. Or you just decide that you resign, you're firing the work. You can't make and you're not going back in. That is what it boiled down to for me. So I mean, I say my stance here already, right? I don't like the idea of forcing people to get vaccinated, but I'd salute genius when it come about because that is a genius move. And before I could even come here to salute it, within the same week, the man basically come out and say they can't sustain the takeout and curbside for his restaurants, which would be particularly Blue Star, Trotters, a few others. There's about 4 or 5 of them, and he said they're closing down. So, I mean, kind of sad for everybody who was working for him, and you at least you're getting some hours in. Because I have to assume that you're not getting paid when you're home all this time. Remember, KFC was doing a little or Prestige Holdings, they were doing a little stipend for people, and that had stopped. I would think that Trotters and them, I know how much they're probably not paying anybody while you're home. But now they come out and say they close. They can't sustain this thing with curbside. I kind of understand it because a cheaper restaurant, right? Let me you go to the extreme and say the cheapest food is doubles, right? Well, for now, it's easy for you to jump in your car, go and buy doubles, buy how much ever you want and carry home. Going and buy Trotters or Blue Star on a regular basis for pickup. I don't know how much pickup orders they have if it could sustain the business and all that. I was telling a fellow in a group chat recently here too. Sometimes when you see a business, and a man has 6-7 business, where it's about economies of scale, I try not to make this academic, but if you have several restaurants, you have some economies of scale there, you go down and buy, but when you go in for lettuce, you're going heavy lettuce, you want all. Give me all your lettuce. And that's how you purchase. So your purchasing might be centralized for the 5-6 restaurants that you have. So he can't just close the highest end ones, because then the cost, I assume, in the operating cost of the others going to get higher if the others close. That's just my assumption. So the man decided he closing all, and sadly, 275 workers getting furloughed. When they say furlough, you're basically home without pay. You ain't lost your job. If when things come back, you could get back your job, but you're not getting paid during the time. That's 275. Eh? So coming from the Express, written by Andrea Perez Sobers. It says 275 workers attached to Trent Restaurant Group will be furloughed for the next 3 months. I believe by IR law, you're safe for 3 months. 3 months in the first instance, and then you could make a decision after that 3-month period. So I just want you to keep this in mind, right? We're in August now. We're in the beginning of August by the time you listen to this, right? Emancipation and all that. August, September, October. This is a decision that he will make by November. Now, nothing stops you if you furlough employees from calling them back out middle of August if you get to open back and things go back, right? But I just want you to keep in mind that they're saying school's going to reopen in September and all that. And this furlough he have is up to October. So I don't know if the expectation is that nothing will change till then, or if he just do the maximum period and wait and see. So it says the announcement by the group just days after its owner Peter George said he would implement a new rule for staff who are unvaccinated to pay for a PCR test every 2 weeks. Trent Group, which includes Trotters, Buzo, Amara, Blue Star, and Tommy's Brewery, confirmed in a social media post that the suspension of its restaurant operations comes into effect at 9 p.m. That was last Monday. Our business is predicated around world-class experiential dining, and as much as we have stressed, there's no viability in curbside. What? And as much as we have stressed, there's no viability in curbside and takeaway operations. We stand ready if and when the time comes to resume full dining operations. Thank you for understanding and for your understanding and unwavering support as we remain in hope for a bright future for the nation. He went on to say it was a difficult decision and so on, and make after 17 months of his business battling COVID-19. I mean, I talked about this a few times, and I feel it for them. I feel it for restaurant owners. I feel it for bar owners. It's easy to be in a business, and by extension, the employees as well, right? And I remember them opening. Oh, put it this way: we had said in the beginning of COVID that Hard Rock Cafe, without being able to operate for maybe a month or two, had to close down, and they would have give up or lost their franchise. Trotters took over that spot in Gulf City, and I think they done give up that spot already. So worse again if you're paying rent and thing for a space, and what you gonna do? So he went on in the article to say takeaway at Trotters since reopening is between 5 to 10 meals a day and 20 on a good day, while curbside is 15 on average per day. What the hell does that mean? Takeaway at Trotters since reopening is between 5 to 10 meals a day and 20 on a good day, while curbside... Oh, takeaway, he counts in takeaway different from curbside, gotcha. So takeaway is about 10 or 20 on your best day, assuming maybe that is a Friday, and 15 curbside. He says that definitely cannot cover the overhead expenses daily. It's going to be difficult during the closure, but you cannot keep running on fumes. And I mean, anybody who, if you're in business, you understand. If you're not in business, try and understand. Because that is not not sustainable by any stretch of the imagination. And more, I think more of that to come. He's one of the bigger ones. So anytime he make a move, you're gonna see it on news and everywhere. But I think that, as I say, many businesses will be continuing to go through that. So I wish him the best to not just the owner, trotters, or the businesses. You know me and the 1% talk. We need people who run in businesses. We need the biggest business in the country to run, especially since we have no more oil and gas. We're going to be dependent. The money in the country going to come from people who run in businesses at the highest level. So, I mean, let's see how it goes. The boss come and make a press conference Saturday gone. Absolutely nothing changed. No more beaches and them things still not open. Restaurants, thankfully, could still do a little takeout and curbside. I'm happy that the restaurants are able to open, and who open now, they doing their utmost best. You could see it. I'm sure you're all seeing it as well out there, where restaurants doing what needs to be done in terms of curbside, lining up, social distancing, wait outside if we had too much people inside. Somewhere I went today and they asked me to wait outside. I think it was Starbucks. They say hold on outside, there are too much people inside. They're trying to keep it under 5 or whatsoever it is. So salute to all the businesses who making an effort to do the right thing. You could see people taking it seriously because they don't want to go down into the state of shutdown again. So, I mean, we'll continue to monitor that and see how it goes as we go along. All right, what's he seeing in the Olympics? What's going on? We social distancing yourself from like the medals need 2 PCR tests every month and 2 vaccines for them to reach Trinidad, because we ain't going so good with the medals. So now we have Keshavan coming up, so we should be good there. But Michelle Yai, salute to her for, Michelle Yai do good. Let me put it like that, right? Because she had leading up to this a bunch of injuries. She was down for some time. I think she had some tests and them kind of thing that didn't go too negative and all that. And she was out there for a little while. And I was glad to see her come back in the mix. She win the first heat. You could see she run all out. Beat what's my girl name again who she beat in the first heat? Sharika Jackson. She run all out and she win the heat, but then when it come back down to the semifinals, it was just class in that semifinal. I'd admit it. We was just outclassed. We wasn't there. Salute to Jamaica for coming through 1, 2, 3 in the women's final. I think they did that in the women's final before, if I'm not mistaken, and they did it with the men they did that with the men? Yeah, I think they did that with the men at some point too. And listen, I mean, Jamaica sprint, salute to them and everything that they're able to do with their sprint team, because it's amazing to see. At least we have somebody to back. I see somebody put it well on Facebook recently here. They say first we is back Trinidadian, then we is back Caribbean, then is African, then anybody black. And then it going down to things like good looking and all them kind of things it come down to after that. You know what I mean? We fully prepared to support the Olympics, whether we up there or we ain't up there. But when we up there, we love we people and we behind them regardless of what is happening. I mean, as a proud Trinidadian, I was glad to see Jamaica come through with it. If we can come through with it, I'd rather them win than the Yankees anytime, any day. What my girl name again? Shakari. What's your name? Shakari, what again? I see she tweeted and she trying to gain. No, she was doing that before the races, before they even had the before they even had the heats. And matter of fact, before the Olympics even start, it was all gonna miss me and this and that. And I really find she had the kind of vibe like Flojo and them, and Jackie Joyner Kersey with the long nails and the outlandish hair or whatever. The style and thing like that moment back in the day. But about that looked like about all she had, because when you check the times of the 3 Jamaican women who run 1, 2, 3, I think her fastest time is slower than the 3rd place time, which should have been Sherika Jackson. So salute to Elon. Oh God, no, I was good in the names all the time. Aileen Thompson Hara, Shellyan. Salute to the 3 Jamaican women. They did really very well. I want to mess up nobody name. This is not deliberate. They do Shellyan Thompson, Fraser, Price. I think it's Price. Shellyan Price. Salute to the 3 Jamaicans. They did great. I find in the end of the race it looked a little salty, because Shellyan, she was expected to win. Nice little Jamaican, pocket rockets or whatever they call her. She's a beast. I remember seeing the look on her face when she won that first medal in 2008. She was not expected to be the one who win, if I remember right. And when she came through, that sense of joy and amazement when she burst through the line was something else to see. And I expected to see that. Me following racing every day to know. But that's the one we like. We like Shellyan. She have a vibe. She have a kind of vibe. And I watch her. She had interviews with Andy Phillips. I like her overall. But boy, Aileen wasn't to be beaten. She wasn't laughing and joking with nobody. Even when she finished winning the race, she realized she had an Olympic time and an Olympic record. So salute to her for that, of course, breaking that Olympic record that's been there since the 80s. You heard it first on the Bernie and Bardi podcast, when Atto said that Flojo record was under threat. But she realized she would get the record. She run through the line. She celebrated and things. She never really looked back to see. Now, Shellyan and them was watching the clock. I guess they're trying to figure out what time they run or who run second and third and all that. And then when they walk across to her, they kind of give her what I like to call a hate pat. They give her a kind of hate pat on your back, like I hate you, but good job. I don't think these people like one another too much. It really didn't look good because both of them give her the little pat, and she didn't even make eye contact with them. And it get me so damn vexed because it make me remember how Atto used to run down Maurice Green after Maurice Green beat him to hug up Maurice. I didn't like that at all. 2 of them was in the same camp, if you remember. And boy, Atto used to be running down this man to Atto with teammates and coming from the same camp. And Atto, this is enemy business. We don't like. I would rather see Atto give them the hate pat. Maurice Green just say the boy, listen, I hate you. Good job. Then Atto, the race ain't done yet. Atto running them down to hug up like both of them run one. So we don't care about them, Atto. You running for Trinidad. Nobody in business on Maurice Green or whatever. It was Maurice Green, the fella name was. But anyway, the salute to the Jamaican team. And, I was watching something, right? And the same thing come and happen that is how me confused. When this thing start, where sprinters is be watching the clock. Now, I don't know enough about this, so this is just my opinion, of course. I remember seeing Linford Christie win the gold medal. England, Linford Christie, right? Remember him? Remember when they used to show you the close-up of these fellas' face, how focused and intense they used to be running a 100-meter race all the way through the line. I remember seeing Ben Johnson. I know the drugs and everything, right? But Ben Johnson was running for Canada. Jamaican too, you know what I mean? And Ben Johnson, Ben Johnson was just an impressive, strong dude. You're seeing his steroids coming through sports. But just huge legs and running through. But the intensity on his face and the focus he used to run with running through that line. And I remember as well seeing Usain Bolt and wondering why would Usain Bolt, when he won his first gold medal, of course he got the Olympic and world record at the time, but he run through looking at the clock and hitting his chest. You remember that? When he beat up Thompson. Why do they do that? Like, maybe that doesn't do anything, but to me it's look like you could have you could have shaved off a second or two again. I could be absolutely wrong about that, but why not just run straight through the line? You're going and find out the time. It's taking you 8 point something seconds to reach you. How much it could take to take a next second after to see how you do? And I saw Shellyan Fraser do it when she was running through. Shellyan name is Fraser or Thompson or what? Never Google this because I'm really making a mess of this whole thing. Bear with me here. I'm not a young man. Shelly-Ann Fraser-Pryce. So if I say Thompson before, that was not deliberate. I'm sorry. But maybe it's Richard Thompson, Shelly-Ann Thompson. Yeah, Shelly-Ann Fraser-Pryce. She run through. You could see her. Watch back the race when you get a chance, right? Both of them was neck and neck. A matter of fact, she might be a little ahead of Elaine at the time. But she was looking up like at a screen, like at the museum, it's called Jumbotron or whatever, like a screen in the stadium. She was looking up at that while she running. And my thing is, like, I can't understand if that is a good thing or a bad thing, or if the coaches tell them they should do that to see where the rest of the field is. But it happened so fast. In my mind, I think you just had to run your race and run X the board. We looking up there to see who coming for. And the reason I feel that way is because I remember Olympics back in the day. I can't remember who it was and which Olympics it was. But I remember the guy turning to see who was coming in the next lane. And somebody in the lane... So he turned to his right to see who was coming. And somebody in the left blow past him. And the commentators was talking about that. So I wish I could hear from somebody who know about sprinting and them thing, to tell me if that is a distraction, a issue, if it causes it to slow down. Because at them kind of speeds, if you're losing a second, you're losing plenty. Ask Michelle Liai, she lose 0.01 of a second and wasn't able to make it into the final. And she run hard, I find. And the same thing as I saying that, it come true in the 200 meters, where Shericka Jackson, I don't know what she was taking. Boy, listen, that real hard, sir, to train. I always feel it for athletes. Like when you train so hard for so much years to make it to the games, Olympics or World Games or whatever it is, and you have a short window, you might make 2 or 3 Olympics over your life because 4 years apart, and you know what I mean, younger people coming up all the time, and they false start. I've seen so much of them getting false start now, and you're out and they're showing you a big red card to face. That had to be heartbreaking. Yeah, I want to sleep on a cardboard bed. But I find the same thing like when I watch Shericka Jackson. You come to run the 200. Instead of you run through and make sure you qualify, I see her doing the same thing, like looking at some kind of screen somewhere and easing up. You know, when she ease up, 2 people blow past her and she get the same Michelle Liai treatment. She was out by 0.01 of a second and she didn't get to make the final. I mean, I saw her tweet. Was it Twitter or Instagram? I find it was real mature of her. I'd assume she's a real young girl, right? I know she would be younger than Elaine and them for sure. But let me find her what she had said on Instagram here. She look like she don't smile too much and think, you know, she's a serious woman, you know what I mean? She's serious with her business, but she says sometimes painful things can teach us lessons that we didn't think we needed to know. So, I mean, salute her still. I'm glad for her. She do good. And you know, the 200 was the event they really say she was supposed to win, you know what I mean? She had her best chance there. But again, Fraser-Pryce and Elaine, they both in the final. So hopefully, I mean, Jamaica can't get a 1, 2, 3 again, but hopefully they get 1, 2. We have anybody? I don't even think we have anybody in there. But salute to Michelle Liai, same way. I mean, Sedenio run today. A good few people, and we not really, we ain't cutting it. We plenty 4th and plenty 6th and them kind of things. We just not up there. I see Michelle Liai try to gangster Nicki Minaj too. I'm not sure that was I wonder if she deleted by now, boy, because I think that was misguided, where she say, I guess I didn't do good enough for her to big up my flag. I feel she shoot wild because Nicki Minaj had come out and talk about the Jamaican sprint team and put up a Jamaican flag and must he had some Jamaican music in it. I understand where Michelle Liai come from. You know, Nicki is Trini, so you could do it as support. You would have liked that look and everything, but she bigging up the Jamaicans. But I don't think she was just bigging up the Jamaican team. I think she was shooting at that Sha'Carri Richardson girl because she been talking about time, and if you miss it, I'm like, nobody don't miss you. We do business about you. We doing good over here, and it's heavy we now that the Caribbean is in charge, you know. So if it's in Trinidad, as I say, if Trinidad not there, the Caribbean is next up on the list. Another thing that happened in the Olympics this week is let me get this article right. In case you're not talking certain topic, I just want to make sure I say it the right way, right? So I'm reading directly from the Tokyo Olympics section of the New York Times. Let me take my time and read here. Let me check my one good eye and see if I can make it out here. In weightlifting, a historic moment for transgender women. A sport that really makes headlines was at the center of the Olympics on Monday as the first openly transgender woman competed in the Games. A niche sport in the best of times, weightlifting has in recent years often made news for the wrong reasons, including doping scandals and widespread corruption. Now wait, before I get into this, right? I honestly find everybody should take as much drugs as they want to take. I want to see people lift up like a ton in the weightlifting. I want to see people run the 100 meters in a second flat or sub 1 second. Let these people take the drugs. But anyway, on Monday, it made news for an entirely different reason. Laurel Hubbard, a weightlifter from New Zealand, became the first openly transgender woman to participate in the Olympics. She failed to complete a lift in the first half of the competition and bowed out of the second half, leaving as quietly as she arrived. In a brief appearance before the news media, Hubbard praised the International Olympic Committee for creating conditions that allowed her to compete in Tokyo. Quote, I think they have reaffirmed the commitment to the principle of Olympism. There's a word? Olympism. And demonstrated that sport is something all people around the world can do, she said. It's inclusive, it's accessible, and I think it's really fabulous. It's a good word, fabulous. Hubbard's widely anticipated debut at Tokyo Games pushed weightlifting onto center stage at the Olympiad, at an Olympiad already filled with controversy, historic moments, and asterisks, if that's a word. Across the sports world, an often bigger fight has raged about her presence at the Games. Supporters of transgender athletes have hailed it, while some advocates for women's sports fear campaigners and some athletes have questioned whether she has an unfair advantage. I just want to be clear here, right? What's your name again? Yeah? Laurel Hubbard. I just want to be clear that Laurel Hubbard competed in the weightlifting in the women's weightlifting, right? So she's a transgender woman and she competed in the women's weightlifting, not the men's weightlifting, right? Because she's transgender, right? So you heard the article referring to her she all the time. I want you, when you have a minute, maybe not right now, right? You might be busy. But when you get a chance, how you go and check Laurel Hubbard, right? I don't want to say nothing insensitive here, but I find Laurel like any make an effort to look like a woman. Laurel come out as a man. I thought, listen, I thought when you're transgender thing is, they talk about transitioning. Like because I don't know enough about it, my benchmark or my one example is Bruce to Caitlyn Jenner. Coincidentally, an Olympian as well, you know what I mean? Salute to Caitlyn. So Bruce wanted to be was transgender, and I don't know what's the right word to use. He changed into Caitlyn, he transformed, right? And what is called transition into Caitlyn, right? But you could see when you look at Caitlyn now, a lot of effort was made to look the part of a woman. I tried my best with these topics, I don't want no problems. But like Laurel said, to hell with that. Laurel, come in, accept me as I am. I mean, get you wrong in Laurel. Take me as I am. I'll come out as manly as it gets. I just want you to spend some time to Google. So, you went in with the woman. Now, where the whole thing get murky for me. What's my opinion about it? I don't think that if you were born a man, and these lines probably will disappear 10, 20 years from now, but from long time ago. I find women's sports should be women's sports, men's sports should be men's sports. And what are you going to do? Have a transgender games too, with man who change into woman and woman who change into man could compete based on the gender they really feel like inside. Like what we come into, why would you put a man to compete with a woman? Even though if you say, so it means that Caitlyn, if she decides to go back in the Olympics now, you could just go and run as a woman and beat women, or Dave Chappelle talked about it in a special, yeah. LeBron James, if he decided transgender, he could go in the WNBA and just obliterate everybody in there. That I don't see how that could be fair. So as the New York Times article say, transgender people seeing it as a big step forward for equality, while people who are sportswomen, you know what I mean? Imagine you go on that you train for your weightlifting so long, and a transgender, somebody who born a man and is a transgender woman now come there and beat you. But it's a moot point because under all that, Laurel can't lift up the thing and Laurel, come on, man. We bring in you fight your rights, right? Everybody your rights until you come in, Laurel. You born a man. You still couldn't make the lift to go through the thing. What the hell is going on? You know, this is why they let this in. You know, the Olympic Committee, only bright. Only decide to kill two birds with one stone. Them realize the best way to please everybody is to find the transgender woman who weak like hell and can't lift nothing. Them know that up front she couldn't lift a thing. So they say, all right, well, the transgender go be happy that they come. But the woman go be happy anyway because this man in no chance to win. So I just want to take this time to dedicate a little song from the great Lord Nelson to Laurel Hubbard. Yes? It's for you, Laurel. If she'd win the gold, she could have played this, you know? Instead of the anthem. Message.
Wipe your tears away, dry your eyes, don't cry. You're a big man.
You're a big man.
You could take care of yourself, you always say, it ain't no lie. You're a big man.
You're a big man.
You have she slaving in your place, night and day.
Yeah,
Don't even want she to show she face anyway.
no way.
And now she pack, she close to go. You're so shame, your friends know you are low down so and so. I say wipe your tears away.
Yes?
Don't cry, you're a big man.
You're a big man.
You ain't bound to woman as I heard
What?
you say just the other day. How you're a big
man.
man.
You're a big man.
You are the boss so she can't vex when you do.
No,
And she could never find a next man like you.
no way.
I can't argue with you, it's true. Cross me hand in this land, there's no man as bad as you.
Yes?
Bad man.
She just asks for cash, you start pelting lash like a madman.
Oh.
But you're quick to spend with your girls and them. You always does brag, you have so much rag hang up inside on your rack. She's the wife, but one wardrobe on she back. She did not lie so nice till she met paradise. Right now she living twice. The woman so sweet, afraid diabetes.
So sweet, so sweet. So sweet,
I
so
said, wipe
sweet.
your tears away. Dry your eyes, don't cry.
You're a big man.
You're a big man.
You had she like in jail, I stand she bail. So haul your tail, big man.
You're a big man.
I can't believe the tears you cry is a fact.
Yeah,
Plus begging me to talk to she to come back.
no way.
I know for sure that what you do is an act, man. You too slack, you're like a joker in the pack.
Joking you.
Mister, wipe your tears away. Don't cry, you're a big man.
You're a big man.
Cat does play with bone while dog does groan and want cat bone like a big man.
Like a big man.
One hand can't clap boiler, we rock face to face.
Yeah.
This ain't no trap, I am the chap on your case.
Oh yeah.
I say it's crap to see a good woman waste. So I chase and I taste, and that's the case. With friendship could stay, but you must keep away from me, woman.
Oh.
I hold in the rain, she ain't yours again. You must understand, accept it, that man don't treat no woman cheap. Love's too deep to just have the woman to sleep. It's now Lord Nelson glad you don't know what you had. Right now you're feeling sad. I sorry me lad, but I have she already.
It's gone, she gone. It's gone, she gone.
I said wipe your tears away.
Yes.
Dry your eyes, don't cry.
You're a big
You're a
man.
big man.
I said wipe your tears away and dry your eyes, don't cry. You're a
Big man. Laurel, you're a big man. Alright, sorry. Maybe I shouldn't have played that. That has nothing to do with nothing, right? Let me just pretend that never happened, right? Let me just move on. Now I want to talk. We was talking about Jamaica, and they 1-2-3, and they were just short of 1-2-3. I expect them to be 1-2 in the 200. That was probably Tuesday morning, Wednesday morning, and our lack of 1-2-3s. Let me put it like that, right? So Michelle Leahy vexed. What I just say? Michelle Leahy was vexed with Nicki Minaj and thing. I see Nicki Minaj and Rachel Price want to fight now too. But Michelle Leahy, I understand what's going on there. Thank God. I mean, thank you for representing so well for the country. You make every effort to be there for us, and we just glad to have Olympians at this point. But I just want to point out something real quick, right? Where Jamaica success is concerned. And my experience with Jamaica. Well, while I was there, I went in the stadium where they used to call the office, right? With Trinidad, this can't be them at all in the office there. And I watched Trinidad play Jamaica. I watched Jamaica play USA. I went to several events, concerts and them kind of thing in that national stadium in Jamaica, right? Right in the heart of Kingston. And I remember being home one day. I used to live up on a hill, a place named Beverly Hills, right? It's in Kingston. And I remember hearing a roaring. Now, the only time I ever hear a roar like that was when I in St. James as a child and West Indies win a game or something big happening in the Oval. You used to hear a roar, it could get you frightened. And I hear something like that. So I had to call a partner now and find out, well, what is that? I didn't even realize it was his stadium. And he told me, boy, there are champs going on in his stadium. And I mean, I think I trying to figure out, well, what's champs? And he's like, well, that is the high school sports. High school athletics, right? Now, I was saying this, the reason I'm talking about the going other games is because the Jamaica versus Trinidad game or the Jamaica versus USA game, none of them had as much people in the stadium as Champs had in the stadium. Champs is ram cram, sold out completely. Now, before I get into what the event is about, let me talk about what happened in the weeks leading up to Champs. I wonder if all you could remember when Trinidad played Bahrain. So we had 3.5 spots from CONCACAF, right? And we qualified for the half spot. So we had to play Bahrain home and away. Bahrain came here and we draw 1-1, if I'm not mistaken. Chris Burchell had scored the goal to equalize. And then we had to go to Bahrain and get a win. You really had to win away from home. I wonder what would happen if we draw at Bahrain. Now that I'm thinking about that, a high scoring draw, we'd have probably qualify, I guess. Or if we draw 1-1 again, we had to shoot penalties or something. But anyway, history is history. So we went there and Dennis Lawrence, the great Dennis Lawrence, scored a goal to push through, right? Now, in the lead up to that game, as well as between the two qualifiers, between the time Bahrain came here and we went there, you would remember that we had people driving around with national flags on their car. Hook up in your car window. Everywhere you go, you're seeing people driving around. A sense of not just national pride, but support for the Soca Warriors at that time. And hope that we could make the World Cup and pride overall for being Trinidadians and be supporting our side, right? Keep that in mind, right? Keep in mind what that looks like and what that feels like. I don't remember another time where it was like that other than that Bahrain game. So that's my best example. You see when Jamaica have champs, you're seeing people driving around with that with a school flag on it. Calabar, Campion, Kingston College. You're seeing people with their flags, all these flags from the school, not the national flag, eh? And I had to ask, of course, as a foreigner like Nelson, I had to say, well, where's these flags? Why people have all these flags on their car? And men is like, well, champs coming up. And I was like, well, where's champs? And again, they say high school sports. High school. So think of what it would be like for our secondary school athletics meet, or what we used to call, I remember we used to call it zonals. That was the big thing back then, right? Zonal sports, right? And think about what it would be like if we had zonals at that level, at that magnitude. And I remember then back, that would have been 2006. When I was talking about Asafa Powell and everything coming up to the 2008 Olympics, and all the men in the office by me telling me, boy, that is not the man. It's our youth man named Usain Bolt. That is the man. So all of them had known Usain from high school days. A lot of the times, you ever notice that A lot of times we hearing about our athletes for the first time at the Olympics already, when them done pass through that and they done, you know what I mean? And we expecting so much of them. But I just giving it the comparison again. High school sports is the biggest event them have on the calendar year for sports in Jamaica, bigger than the national sports. And it makes you wonder, like, what it will take for us to get there. Now, one of the things I was talking about to both Birdie and Barney about this last week too. One of the differences is that is a privately owned high school competition. It's not the government, nobody waiting on no subvention and this and that and who running it. It's a businessman who puts money behind it. It was somebody by the name of Issa. So you hear it name as Issa Championships Athletics and something. And Issa coincidentally also owns runs the school football. I can't remember what year they took it over, but they run the school football competition, what we would call intercall. It's a privately owned thing. I think it benefits. You see, private business. I as a man like private business. Because anything where the government had to do it, even outside of bobble, it's just not going to be well managed. Forget bobble and who going to thief and all that. Let's assume that even if nobody thiefing, it is usually inefficient. So private businesses usually give a better chance of some kind of success because there's a man investing in money and he looking for return. So he innovating, he trying to figure it out, he trying to make this business happen and make the thing work, you know what I mean? So when I look at what Champs is there and what they have been able to produce, because from 2008 to now, the people absolutely dominate the sprint. And little by little, they're picking up more and more events. Not that they didn't used to compete all the time, but I remember when they used to call Merlin Naughty the bronze queen because she come into the right through. Them days we done had Hazel Crawford, we had a gold medal long before Jamaica, you know. And they're at a point now where they absolutely dominating to the point of man tweeting online, they can't believe one little island could make all these sprinters and things. And like, go to the little island and you'll understand why. They're doing great. I can't wait to see the relays, you know, the relays always exciting. Well, I mean, that kind of hate pat. I wonder if they go hate hand over the battle to one another, boy, and give somebody else an opportunity to win a little relay. We have 4 women. Now that I'm saying this, we have 4 women we can send a relay. But anyway, point I'm making is this. The kind of development that going in and the kind of money and investment that going into sports at school age is why they're producing not only high quality athletes, but a high quantity of athletes. So we at a stage where we still depending on one high quality athlete every 20, 30 years. So you have a Hazley Crawford, then you have a Hato Bolden, you have a Richard Thompson. So we got about 20, 30 to have another high quality athlete. And most of those high quality athletes go in and find a way, like the same thing I say about Lord Nelson. You have to find your way outside in the collegiate circuit. Go and get training outside, maybe go Jamaica, get training with some of the best coaches and come back because we didn't know Atto from nowhere and we find Atto was arrogant and we didn't like Atto and we didn't like Guy Bolden, we didn't like none of them until he started bringing home some silver medal and saying, all now they still find he too arrogant and he say anything, right? So we constantly again finding ourselves back in that same position because the development and the way we treat sports, we're not putting a lot into sports. Like we put in as little as we could put and we're expecting everybody to do great. You know, we are shot put. We hoping they win that. You know, hope is the right word. Because we are Cleopatra Borrell at the time. We hope she win. We hope this one win. We hope they come through. And we are all shocked when they come through. But I was shocked when Keshawn win. I said, but who we come from? Never hear about him before. Me and him know we are somebody throwing javelin. But again, you could see when you look at the relationship he had with his coach, now he was in Cuba training and all that. Anyway, I remember at that time, and the people who come before me talk about it like what we was looking at was a joke. I remember a time when Fatima Place in Mary's tongue had to shut down because the amount of people, the whole of King George and all them kind of thing, you get to King George in a little while, right? King George. But the whole of King George at the time was shut down because Fatima playing St. Mary's is a big game and Compre playing Fatima. For me in St. James, Compre versus Fatima was a big thing because when you go in when you live in St. James, everybody from in the area either went Compre, Fatima, or St. James Sec. A few people go Polytechnic and things, but all of us, everybody know one another. So that come like if There's men on the block. There's people who lie and thing, and you know what I mean? Friends and family. Everybody walking down to Fatima grounds to see Compre play Fatima. I also used to see it in places like the Savannah. I ain't gonna remember right because them days I trailing behind my cousin Sheppy to watch a little football, but it had sides like Marple and thing in the Savannah. It had crowd, you couldn't see it. The linesman, you remember when the linesman you start to run and ask for the line, it's like line, give him a line, give him a line in the Savannah. I don't know if people remember that, like football back then. And we used to have a huge support for it. So it seemed as though back then we had something that was allowing people to move from school to semi-pro or even to pro and get people out there in the bigger leagues. Because regardless of what, with a team sport, let me say it like this, with things like football, if you really develop past a certain point and you have a certain level of skill, you're good and play in one of the biggest leagues in the world. But that is the one quality person. That is the Dwight York. I don't think what we need to be searching for is a Dwight York quality. People like him is 1 in a million. I think we should focus on quantity because quantity breeds quality. If we spend any time pouring into athletes, whether it's football, it's athletics, it's swimming, wherever is the sports, we could actually decide on a developmental plan for what we're going and create not just the facilities, but the infrastructure, the funding behind it, the systems, the coaches behind that one thing and support it to the max or privatize it so that you're starting to see more and more and more people coming out. Because again, Jay-Z said, steel sharpens steel. One of the reasons Jamaica people so fast is because they're fast in large numbers. So to reach the top 3 in Jamaica, you're ending up being the top 3 in the world. But we at a stage where we're looking for a diamond in the rough, somebody who appear from somewhere and just is a hero when we find out about them. So we celebrate them after, like if they wasn't doing hard work and coming through all the time. So that's just my thing for the Olympics. And I see champs as an ideal example or a template for us to follow. So the question is, who is our Issa here? Who's the people here that are going to take over or create these tournaments, competitions, athletic meets, whatever it is, so that youths have a clear developmental plan? Like just one more example before I move on from this. I remember playing football for Fatima. A matter of fact, when I was 11, 12 years old, I was playing football and cricket for under 14. And the punishment when you don't do your work good was that you can't play sports. From my parents too, but from school. So I couldn't go training. I ain't doing my work good. I give trouble at delinquents, wherever it was, which I was. But you can't go training. You're missing game. You had detention. The same time that Fatima had detention is when the football team training, and they used to put detention in a room where you could see the fields. One of the most heartbreaking things, you watching men playing, and you have an hour detention there. We can't be wanting so much out of sports and treat sports like it was an afterthought right through. So, you know what I mean? And if you feel we should be feeling anyway, or if we can't do it, you just take examples from Jamaica. I want you to take in a piece of Jamaica that Lord Nelson was able to take an example from. You think it's soca alone? 1, 2, 3, 1. Yes.
One love.
Yes.
Ballet man looks so, but he's rascal too. It's not how you look, but the things you do. Now, just say share your love to your brother man. Treat him kind and stretch out a helping hand. But you claim you're proud, you're kind, you're gentle. I hear you quoting words from the Bible, but now you're jumping and I back in though. I and I black, you turn natty dread. Now you're calling me boyhead. Rastaman, I man, have a care.
Yes.
Supposing like me, you just lose your hair. Now, tell me what you gonna do for identity when your dreadlocks growing inside like me. Then we will know who dread and who faking. Without them locks and flying and shaking. With all that I have said, you would know this I'm man dread, so don't be misled. Stop calling me bald head. One love.
Yes?
Rasta man, ballad man, Jaja say, one love. With the same skin color from him above. Why this big separation between you and me? How can the hair define an identity? Is Babylon war we fighting? But I and I still separating. All the books I've read say we come from one bed. I don't mess with the dead, so I call me bald head.
Is everything, we dabbling, you know what I mean? Alright, I just have one quick thing to talk about. So I'm going to talk about one little article here that I've been meaning to talk about a few weeks now. And then I want to play my two favorite Lord Nelson and we done. We almost there. We're at what time? I think I'm good. So, from The Guardian, Peter Christopher writes in this article, $40 million floating hotel boost for Carnival 2023. I like it. There may still be question marks over Carnival 2022, but one Caribbean entrepreneur's 7-year dream may see Carnival 2023 yet become the biggest of it in our history. On July 19th, Island Sea Fest. Is it Island Sea Fest? What's the name go? On July 19th, Island Sea Fest officially announced a partnership with Royal Caribbean for an 11-night cruise during that Carnival season. For 5 of those nights, the boat will be docked in Port of Spain from Carnival Thursday to Carnival Tuesday, allowing the passengers to indulge in the pinnacle of the Carnival season before the departure to resume the rest of the cruise in the Caribbean. The collaboration is set to boost Trinidad and Tobago's capacity for accommodation for the event by close to 4,000 rooms and potentially $40 million in tourist expenditure without affecting the number of available rooms on the island. I find it's a great idea. I don't know if he come up with the idea or anything. Whatever, I like he execute. This is what I'm telling you about private sector. You see the government and the government this and what the government had to provide. Waste of time. You'll never get nothing done if you sit down here waiting on the government to do it. And let me talk about this King George thing fast because like the debate went on. I'm not sure why the Prime Minister was pronouncing on this. It was kind of odd because it seemed to be a private investment. I guess public-private, yes, so he could have something to say about it. But it's a little bit of an odd thing that we do sometimes in Trinidad. And my solution to it, again, is the private sector involvement. Not saying that you would just give away every park and the savannah and thing. Maybe you should give it away to private sector and them kind of thing. But what I would say is, if I'm a business owner and I own the rights to the use of King George V Park, I pay taxes just like everybody else. So assuming that, let me assume our budget for a country is $40 million a year, right? If I'm making $500 billion, let's just say, in any entity, it means that my tax dollars would be more than the Trinidad budget, right? At 25% or whatever you earn in corporate profits, supposed to be paid as tax, right? So this is where I like private business, because when private businesses thrive, we like to talk 1% and this and that and everybody. I don't. Number one, going back to what I say about 1%. Anybody could be the 1%. The 1% changes over time because when it had people like Kirpalani and Dilemma and things, that was the 1%. Now it have a different 1%. Once you need businesses like that, especially now that oil and gas is no longer, almost officially now, innovation is the only way we're going to get past certain things. So when I hear private involvement in what happened with King George, I'm going to stop saying King George with Nelson Mandela Park. It's so disrespectful. Nelson Mandela Park, I like it because a private entity is going to maintain a standard at that facility that government will never maintain. So for example, when they first opened the tennis courts and the netball court there, that's at the kind of like eastern end close to Sinclair. I have never seen a dirtier toilet or porta potty. I've never seen anything as dirty as that. And then there was supposed to be a system where you could book the tennis courts and all these kind of things. And what used to happen is tennis pros used to book out. You couldn't get a time slot for yourself unless you're paying $100 a session to somebody to go and play, to go and teach you to play tennis, which is not from my understanding, the original idea behind the courts. So the tennis courts thing, the tennis courts would have been there, the basketball court, so they have facilities there already. Now, as the debate going on about AstroTurf versus grass, I personally, AstroTurf is not for me. I see carpet burn and thing, I give people carpet burn. I don't get carpet burn. So I'm not going on no AstroTurf. My joints and thing ain't good enough for that. I can't make with that again. But I think people have to pay attention to the fact too that we just built, and you know, it's a strange thing before I even get to that. Woodbrook Place residents had an issue with this new development, saying that the construction would have bothered them and all them kind of thing. Nobody had bothered people with construction than Woodbrook Place. That was one of the most intrusive construction projects we ever see. Panside had to move out anyway. But right, the same distance they are from King George, from Nelson Mandela Park, is the same distance where Gary Griffith and them now build a AstroTurf field by the barracks there. So I don't understand what they talking about, like, will bother them so much. Only halfway soundproof upstairs there. But either way, whether people for AstroTurf, they for grass, whatever they for private sector investment and development. It's the same thing I say about the football and the sports. When private sector involved, you have a different level of innovation that the government will never take. You can imagine Trinbago or Tuco, or one of them was responsible for increasing room capacity in Trinidad and Tobago, which is a problem. Eh? Talk to any foreigner about coming here for Carnival. One of the biggest issues is getting a room. You could see places like Hyatt doubling the price or Hilton and them doubling and tripling their prices because we don't have enough rooms for such a big festival. So somebody finally get a cruise ship here. So when I talk about following Jamaica, following any of the tourists, we have so many. Me and CARICOM, all these islands are tourism driven. We could just go to them and say, listen, we're not tourism driven, but you have one very high peak tourism season. What do you all do when all you have plenty tourists? Like all you have a regatta, guys have plenty, regatta is the right word? The sailing thing. All you have that, what do you do? Let me try some of that. And you would have seen that places like Jamaica and them been doing this for a long time. You bring a cruise ship there and park up, and my suggestion is bring 10. You bring a cruise ship there and park up, people come on, that is part of the cruise itself. So again, they're able to enjoy the Carnival cruise line thing where it's all inclusive and drinks or whatsoever you get when you're on a cruise and you have your room there. But you could leave and go off fete just like any other hotel, like what people would do if they would buy Hyatt and that kind of thing. And I hope that more of this is done. I think it's a great experience. It's a great way for us to market ourselves and put ourselves out there and enhance what our Carnival experience really is. Because you could do this at different stages of the Carnival too. So whereas you would have an influx of foreigners and the US dollars and the high ticket prices during the week of Carnival itself, cruises could come in during any time. You could get cruises that come in closer to Marshall Monday, if that's still a thing, closer to the earlies when we now have in places like fetes like Mocha and them kind of things. Or when you had the big Soca fete or eye up the bigger fetes, you know, there's so much opportunities to do things like this. And we saw Uber Soca Cruise or whoever the other people who doing Soca Cruises doing it already, where they're on the cruise but they come off and they party in different places, right? You know those cruise ships make their own destination, so they're not really driven by where is your most popular destination on the island, that is. They usually go and create little spots. So whenever Ocho Rios and Montego Bay is two of the biggest kind of like Lyman spots, destinations, hubs in Jamaica, but they go and find their own space. They go and Discovery Bay or whatever they call the place, and a bunch of cruise ships come there. So I find it's a great initiative. So I just wanted to take a little minute to salute. Let me make sure I have the name right. Island Fest events for coming out with a concept like this that I think will go a long way to increasing our carnival, which could well overtake oil and gas as the main export of the country or the highest revenue driver. But again, only if it remains in the hands of the private sector. If you make a pantry and bake, put a big pool in the middle of the savannah to get everybody to stay in there. Anyway, I want to get some of 2 favorite Lord Nelson songs, right? And then we are done. This first song, now I'm not going to play... you all know a lot of the... you know a lot of these songs already that Lord Nelson sings. So it have Disco Daddy and it have Lala. You all know all them songs already. So I'm going to stay away from the We Like It and the King Liar and My Lover and all them big songs. And I'm going to play one that is about a wedding, right? Tell me if you know it.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Yes?
the story you're about to hear is true.
Absolutely true.
Only the needle has been changed to protect the record.
It's a good wedding song.
Dearly beloved, we are gathered here to join together this man and woman in matrimony.
Don't play it in your wedding.
Many man feels that they should not be joined together. Speak up now or forever hold his tongue.
Yes?
Passing, stop the ceremony. I said, wait, passing, that woman belongs to me. I bet careful the dress she wearing. I thought she was a guest in somebody's wedding. Rev, try and understand. If she married, I would have to be she husband. Stella, Stella, how you gonna do that to me? Stella, it's water in the eyes. Oh, I love you. I bet the last anything you dress. Stella, how you gonna do that? Stella, listen to me, Stella, listen, Stella. Well, the priest almost passed out right in front of the 3 of them. When the old man shouted, Reb,
The bridegroom is my best friend.
Only last night he come down by me, drink me scotch
And I lend him money.
Reb, if you marry both of them at all,
Prepare yourself to preach for a funeral.
Stella, listen to me, Stella, listen. Stella! Stella! I love you! What he could do for you that I can't, Stella? You want the bung of flour?
Yes.
I want the sugar.
Yes.
Stella, listen to me. Well, the whole church
Don't
went in a big
uproar.
The bridegroom snatched the old man and tell him don't talk no more. This ain't no time to make a confession.
Yes.
Told the priest, go on with the sermon. The old man raised the hand in protest, snatched the bride,
And bust what she dressed.
Stella, I didn't mean to do, I didn't do that. But I had to do something to just to prove to you, Stella. It's my money. It's Stella! Stella! I love you, Stella, I love you. This time you should see the bridegroom throwing punches left and right. The bride hug up the old man, begging him, honey, don't fight. I was only married to see if you love me. You prove your point. Let's go, honey. Leave the bridegroom on the floor. Hug up the old man and walk out the door. Stella, you mustn't make me cry. I know it's joke you was making, Stella, but you know you almost give me hard trouble, Stella. Stella, I love you. I love you, Stella. I love you. I love you, Stella. I love you. Let me go, darling.
Yes. Hey, it's the best wedding song they ever write in Calypso, right? I ain't gonna say it's the best song they ever write again, right? I ain't giving it that, but it was one of the greatest. And you had to see, with all due respect to the Lord Nelson, of course, but you had to see a man named Ken Corby perform that song, because when he started ball, like he balling worse than Lord Nelson. A part of me feel like it's a true story with him. You know? I feel something so happened to him earlier in life because the way he just ball and cry for that song. But the next one I'm going to play, this one is my personal favorite. This one I hear growing up again. You know, me and growing up hearing songs in Parang, and my father and my aunts and them, they used to sing this song, Coming Home by Rita Parang. And next song about woman, right? Tell me if it ever happened to you. Yes? Hey, his lyrics down to the end, and you had to listen to every lyrics in the song. Tell me if a woman ever do this, huh? Look what.
Woman, I'm tired
Talking to you, I don't like this thing you just always do. I say I'm tired talking to you.
Here's some of the things this woman does do.
I just have to work so hard for my money. What she putting on the table for me is rum. Like she find a whiskey to put for me. She says saving that till company come.
I can't touch a glass in the cabinet.
Saving that for company.
She buy knife and fork, we can't use it yet.
Saving that for company.
The food that she buy with my salary.
Saving that for company. Even toilet paper for the lavatory. She says she's saving that for company.
This woman does really have me confused. All kind of old things I have to use. She buying a set of things every day, and as she come inside, she hide them away.
Don't know how she know we will live tomorrow. Can't see why the hell we can use them now. Anything I touch, she telling me no. And if I only use them, she making row.
Though we have blanket, I catching cold.
Saving that for company.
Drinking soup and copper, though we have bowl.
Saving that for company.
Them nice negligee hang up on the rack.
Saving that for company.
In the night when I touch, she punch it back like she's
Saving that for company.
This house does me dirty all through the year.
Only Christmas and Easter she cleaning hair.
She had the floor shine with wax and she like I can't come to the front, I must use the back. She bad but she put down, she carpet display. I can't even rest me back on a chair. I have to take off my shoes when I pass through there. And I am the walking company here. A pan in cool pot and stove on the bed.
Saving that for company.
I eating biscuit, I know we have bread.
Saving that for company.
Don't care how you beg for my property.
Saving that for company.
From now on I keep all my salary and I go save it from your company. Yeah. I'm quite sure you can remember now, baby.
Yes?
I'm doing my thing. I got you. I go save everything, baby. Everything for my company.
Nello keeping people in mind.
Come on, honey. I still have it here for my company.
Yes?
I tired of the whole thing. I tried my best. Every day is the same thing.
Oh, God.
What's my own company too? What you think I am? You can't do something better than that. What you think? Tell me now. Everything is company.
You know, the man like he vexed in real life. But anyway, that's my favorite Nelson. I hope you enjoy it. And I know again, it's not one of the classics like you're accustomed to. I know you're accustomed to a certain amount of classics from Nelson, but still let me just go off the beaten path. What is called that? B-sides? I'll play some B-sides. I don't know if you could call them thing B-sides, but it's not the most popular hits you have had. So again, this episode is in loving memory of the great LeRoy Clarke, great giant, the chief, right? And of course, in celebration of the 90th birthday of Lord Nelson. Easily one of my favorite Calypso artists, but I have so much favorites. So I'll leave it all there for this week. I thank you for tuning in and staying tuned in, and I'm looking forward to talking to all you next week. Bye.